Hello everyone, welcome to a new video for the Nasdaq and the SPX, and we're gonna see of course what's gonna happen in this new week. I wish you of course a happy Easter and that you have spent a nice time with the family and in the holidays. So basically we're gonna start of course a new week of trading, and we're gonna see what's gonna happen. So basically I'm gonna start with the SPX, where we gonna have of course potentially today a move toward the downside still, and this because of course we might be in three waves toward the upside, and potentially of course a triangle here A B C D E as a first scenario, meaning of course we might be in a wave E toward the downside unless this triangle would like to expand. Yeah, that means of course moving still for wave D and then wave E. And of course, this is a kind of like consolidation for the price action here that we are looking at. Now, another scenario can be, of course, a wave A and then a wave B, and then potentially wave C toward the upside. Of course, after three waves up, three waves down, and then we're looking for higher. Currently, you can be also in this formation of ABC toward the downside for a one-to-one fib level at, of course, the 5000 and 5089, which it can be, of course, a simple ABC structure and then continuation toward the upside. Now, if this happened, that means, of course, you still corrective, and it might still, of course, take this low sooner or later. However, the only scenario that it can save or recover the market and to move toward the upside again is of course when you have a leading diagonal. This is the only possible scenario, and that because we see only a three waves zigzag toward the upside, which is of course the way towards a leading diagonal for wave 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 5. In this case scenario, of course, we can call a recover for the market at 1-to-1 fib level in a wave 2, and then moving of course for a wave 3 for higher prices. Don't forget, in a bigger overview for the market right now, we are in an impulse basically, where we are looking as well at 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 5. You are in a formation of a wave 5. This wave 5 is a 1, 2, and then wave 3. Your wave 4 did not reach the invalidation, and that's why we might be looking at a triangle here, because a wave 4 loves to be a triangle. And if you are in a triangle here, of course, meaning that you're still looking for lower, and you might still take the low for a wave 5, in a wave C, potentially bigger wave C as ABC, or in a wave 4, which is of course the main wave 4 of our scenario. And we're talking here about this scenario where you have of course a 1, 2, 3, and you're looking for an expanding flat wave 4. A, B, and a C. The wave C has to be of course an impulse toward the downside. And in this case scenario, the wave 4 can potentially reach the blue box, but if it breaks this blue box, you are in a dangerous zone for a recession signal. As you might know, this is the recession at 4,600, and that means, of course, when you interfere with the zone 1 here, the price action interfere with it, meaning there is no impulse anymore. This will be invalidated. It will transform into three corrective waves toward the upside, somehow as A, B, and a C, and then, of course, continuation for even lower. And we're talking here about a bigger view as A, B, and a C. It's horrible, right? Horrible scenario. We don't want to see this, right? If we move also for Nasdaq, on Nasdaq we are looking at the following scenarios right now on the 2-hour chart. We are looking as well the same at a three waves potentially toward the upside, finished wave A or a wave 1. And after both case scenario, we see a formation of an ABC toward the downside here to hit the 1-to-1 fib level, potentially of course in a wave B or a wave 2. And in those case scenarios, of course, you are looking for a wave C as an impulse, 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 5. Currently, you are in wave 5 for, of course, this impulse to be finished and hit perfectly the 1-to-1 fib level at 17K 682. Yeah. or by simply taking the low. But anyway, simply taking the low means, of course, the 1-to-1 fib level. And in this case scenario, after 3 waves up and 3 waves correction, you would like to see, of course, continuation toward the upside in 2 scenarios. The first scenarios might be an A, B, and a C correction wave moving impulsively toward the downside to take the low, breaking the blue zone again and heading towards, of course, our recession line, yellow line, right? This recession yellow line, of course, is the invalidation of a big impulse where we are currently in a wave 4. We're looking for a wave 4 to be finished here. And basically, another scenario would open for a recovery, yeah? Where you see, of course, a recover for the market in 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 5, leading diagonal formation of a wave 1, and then wave 2, and then continuation toward the upside after a nice recover for the market. So basically, these are the scenarios. So I'm looking right now for the 1-to-1 fib level. So I think that the market will still be dropping today toward the downside for the 17K 600 and then moving for a wave 3 potentially or a wave C. Unless, of course, we see something else unfolding. In a bigger view, you have finished already a kind of like WXNY, or you have finished here a yeah, you actually not finished. You have hit the target for an expanding flat, the 1.38 and the 1.618, but you hit those targets in only 3 waves, yeah, structure, and not impulsive. And that means, of course, much higher potential that this is a WX and a Y, unless, of course, it is an expanding diagonal. Because the only way to read an impulsive wave to finish, of course, a wave Z is an expanding diagonal, which is the most rare case scenario. Yeah, it is very rare case scenario. Therefore, higher potential that you are in WX and a Y, finished, of course, a zigzag for a wave Y. In this scenario, of course, and in a bigger view, therefore, you would like to see the price moving in this leading diagonal that we just talked about, because, of course, in this leading diagonal, you will see, of course, a recover for the market. You don't want to hit this invalidation of the bullish scenario 1, 2, 3, 4, and continuation simply for wave 5 toward the upside. Otherwise, if you hit this, of course, therefore it is not allowed that the price action in a wave 4 to hit the wave 1, and that is a transformation of this impulse to a corrective wave as potential ABC or WXNY, and therefore it's gonna transform a bigger corrective wave here as an ABC, a huge expanding flat. Next target, of course, is this blue zone, which is, of course, between the 10K and the 6K for Nasdaq. That is also horrible. We don't want to see this scenario, of course, but taking this price is, of course, a potential to move to this side of the chart, and that is yeah, not good. Of course, this is a trade war effect globally, and of course that might affect the whole markets, not just the US market. Yep, so basically this is a short live stream, guys. I wish you to have a nice trading day, and of course that you start your week with a healthy day. And of course I'm gonna follow up with some videos today for Nvidia, Tesla, gold, and all other assets, of course, for the US stock market. Thank you for watching. Thank you for your likes and comments, and see you in the next one. Bye bye.